resolution. So that is why we called it results, not resolution. So it's not a case of I'm not going to make any resolution, I'm not going to make any goal. It's a case of not focusing on that word resolution. Focus on how achievable is this? How can I achieve results?
I think what's interesting is that, when we talk about, setting, whether it's anything, whether it's goals or, resolutions, as we mentioned, there's this sort of impulsivity that's there, and I think to me, that's where it begins. We knee jerk, okay? It's a natural reaction that we just knee jerk. We're like, okay, well, this is a problem. I'm going to do something about it. But it is found that the people that are the most productive, the people that are the high achievers, the people that, actually, create impact and result, are people that are actually more intentional, mindful about the way in which they approach the changes that they want to see in their lives. Exactly. Whether, like I said, it's career, whether it's business, whether it's life in general. Yeah. Being intentional, I think, is the term that is paramount in this, because it set the precedence for everything that we're going to be talking about.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I wouldn't say don't make resolutions, because obviously we, as human beings, we're attached to timelines. So of course, the end of the year is a good time to evaluate your life, to think about where do I want to go, next year, etc., etc. It's good. It's a good timeline. It's a good time to do that. Another, for example, if we're coming to the end of the financial year now, sort of March, April time, the UK financial year starts the 1st of April. I received something in my inbox around, Willorna, how are you planning? So again, that's another timeline. So for example, some businesses, the financial year runs from 1st of April to 31st of March. Again, they set their goals, they set their business plan according to their timeline. So there's nothing wrong with setting goals relating to the start of the sort of annual calendar year or the financial year. It's a good timeline, and it's a good way to sort of measure as well, because like what you've talked about, being intentional, you've got a date, because being intentional is setting an end date, setting a goal. So having that date as your sort of stepping stone or the beginning of that journey is actually a good thing. So we're not saying don't set resolutions. We're saying don't focus too much about this goal of resolution. Just focus on how I'm going to achieve it.
That's it. And, and when I set up the How To Hub, the first thing that, I was talking about and that I wanted to target was process. It's about how we can, maximize on being process-led, because I believe that there is such a strength. There is such there's such an effectiveness in focusing on the process of how we achieve things. Sometimes the process is even more, adds even more value than anything, whether it's in business, especially in business, the process in the way that you do things is where it's at sometimes.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things that I like to focus on.
So I mentioned that I work in HR. So for example, in HR, we've got, if for example, you want to go through a change process, there are lots of change models out there. So having a model, having some kind of blueprint by which you're going to do this, that is a process. So it's good you talked about process, because I'm going to introduce something that I've created. I'm actually in the process of updating my book, Job Hunting, for the post-COVID world. And I've created something I call my Epsr model. So it's a model that you would use to sort of work out how you're going to plan your journey, how you're going to get to something. So first of all, before starting any journey, you have to evaluate where you are, decide where you want to go, and then work out how you're going to get there. So for example, I decide I'm going to go to Scotland tomorrow. I'm here, I know my location where I am. I'm going to plot that map, work out my journey, how I'm going to get there. And I'm going to work out my timelines as well. What time do I need to get there by, etc., etc. So every single journey that you start, you take stock of where you want to go, evaluate, decide how you're going to get there, and work out a plan. And whilst you're working out that plan, once you started on that plan, you also have to put in ways in which you're going to evaluate your progress. So at each sort of timeline. You're going to put a period where you will review your progress, look at whether you need to adapt or change any sort of way you're doing it. Be flexible, be kind to yourself if you don't make a goal or whatever, and then you keep going. So that's another reason why, for example, 2020, if you simply just set resolutions in 2020 without a proper plan, it's likely that you would have failed, because we know what happened. The whole world was turned upside down, so it would have affected our plan. And also, how are you going to decide what aspect of your life are you going to sort of look at in terms of setting goals? What do you want to change? There's something called the wheel of life. So that wheel of life has different aspects of your life. It helps you to kind of plan. So this is something that